Hi, thank you all for attending today's presentation. I'd like to start by saying that Pet Rescue acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we meet on today. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and recognise their continuing connection to the lands, waters, and communities. The purpose of today's presentation is to share some of the things we have learned about managing Home2Home, a remote assisted rehoming service which has been supporting the community for the past 5 years. As some of you may be aware, Home2Home was born during the pandemic as an alternative rehoming pathway to pets entering an overburdened system. It was designed to provide one-to-one support from application through to adoption for people needing to rehome their pets. The first thing we'd like to talk about is the different pathways that pets take during their journey through the Home2Home program. The numbers we are sharing today are a snapshot taken on June 30, 2025. Since launching in 2020, Home2Home has received over 4,600 applications. There were 2,205 who entered the Home2Home program and 2,395 who didn't. To enter the Home2Home program, we determined that remote assisted rehoming was an acceptable pathway and the Guardian paid a program fee committing to listing. Of those that did not enter, a significant number of Guardians did not follow through on their initial application. Some Guardians actively withdrew their application before entering the Home2Home program, and there were a cohort of pets for whom remote assisted rehoming was not suitable, and we redirected them to other services. For the 2,205 who entered Home2Home, loving homes have been found for 1,209 pets without the need to enter a rescue, shelter, or council facility. These included adoption on the Pet Rescue platform, direct rehoming off the Pet Rescue platform, being able to stay with their Guardian, or finding a home within the Guardian's family network. There are also some situations where the circumstances change after listing, which require Guardians to take other pathways, such as surrendering their pet to a rescue, shelter, or council facility, euthanasia on medical or behavioural grounds, and there will always be a certain percentage of cases where we just don't know what happened because the Guardian stopped engaging with us. Okay, so we've talked about the numbers, but how does Home2Home actually work? The rehoming pathway for cats and other pets is quite different to the pathway for dogs. So I've broken them down to explain how the pathway works and what we found on each journey. Starting with cats and other pets like rabbits and birds, the journey goes a little like this. A Guardian submits an application to Home2Home via our purpose-built application form. We ask for all veterinary information to be provided at this point, so we have a clear idea of the health and behaviour of the pet. We then review the application, and if we feel Home2Home is likely to be suitable rehoming pathway, without the need for additional support, the pet will go straight through to listing. If we feel that Home2Home may be a suitable pathway for them, but they require additional support, we will provide suggestions for qualified professionals with the option of resuming their journey depending on the information provided. If we feel Home2Home is not a suitable pathway, we will redirect them to appropriate resources, which could include qualified professionals to provide additional medical and behavioural support, rescues to provide in-person rehoming support, or external service providers for human-centric support. We found that there was a significant number of cat guardians who did not follow through with entering the Home2Home program after their application was accepted. On a whole, we found cat guardians reliable in providing accurate observations about their pet, which meant we were able to create profiles with a minimum of in-person support. Complex needs in cats were likely to be health-related rather than behavioural. Where guardians could show health conditions were stable and manageable, these cats were listed with full transparency. By providing guardians with practical support while the cat was seeking a new home, we found it was common for cats with complex behavioural needs to be able to stay with their families. Now let's look at the pathway for dogs. As with cats, a guardian will submit an application which we review. For dogs, we also included a phone call with our program behaviour specialist to gain better insights into the dog's behaviour and needs, their suitability for Home2Home, and any additional support they may be required. From here, the pathways are similar for cats and dogs. They may go straight through to listing, be required to complete additional steps, or redirected elsewhere. For dog applications, we found there was a notable portion for which we just didn't have enough information to determine if Home2Home was suitable. We found that guardians sometimes required assistance from a local trainer, vet, behaviour vet to get a complete picture of their dog. It wasn't that guardians were deliberately trying to mislead us. More often than not, they simply lacked the knowledge to effectively answer the questions we were asking. We did find that dog guardians showed a higher level of engagement with the Home2Home process, even when they were required to seek additional in-person support. As the program became more well-known, we found that a growing proportion of applications were for dogs that we felt would be adoptable but required additional support. This led us to rely more heavily on third parties for practical help, which created an unsustainable workload for the team, and we found ourselves increasingly redirecting these cases to other pathways. As mentioned previously, when we redirect a guardian to additional support, we still kept the option to list the pet through Home2Home open, depending on the outcome of their consultation. Sometimes when additional support was provided, the guardian was able to keep the pet. Unfortunately, there were times where pets were not suitable for rehoming, and we needed to prepare guardians for potential behavioural euthanasia conversations. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. These cases are the hardest. Nobody likes having these conversations. It's a really awful thing to tell someone we think euthanasia might be the best outcome for their situation. But as a team, with our collective experience in the animal welfare space, we made a commitment to ourselves and to those who sought our help that we would be honest and not shy away from hard conversations. It's important to find a way to have them respectfully with people for the benefit of the pets they love. There are definitely some challenges to remote assisted rehoming. Like everyone else, it's a constant juggle to balance the demand for assistance and our capacity to help. Being a fully remote service, there are things we can't do, which requires us to connect with other professionals whenever we need something done in person. We need to identify if a guardian can navigate the natching process and respond accordingly. These limitations can include difficulty navigating technology or the inability to meet with potential adopters due to emotional barriers and time constraints. Where Home2Home lacked the capacity to bridge this gap, we would redirect them to other pathways. Guardians may also lack the resources required to keep the pets in the home safely while navigating the rehoming journey, and often there is a time limit attached to the rehoming applications we receive. Unfortunately, we have no control over time to adoption, and we can't guarantee that a pet will be adopted within a specific time frame. We had to accept that we couldn't keep trying to do it all. We became increasingly aware of the limitations to our service and our ability to help. It was also impacting our financial sustainability. Every application we redirected meant that we did not receive any income for the support that we were providing. We made the difficult decision to temporarily pause the program so we could reassess where we were heading. While we were going through this process of evolution, we still wanted to continue providing as much support as possible to the community. This led us to reopen the program only for cats while we continued to explore how to best support the needs of dog guardians. We decided to trial a tiered fee-for-service program for cat guardians with guaranteed timeframes for listing. We also knew that we needed a better way to identify those most suitable for Home2Home. We still wanted to provide support to as many people as possible seeking our help, which led us to build a triage process that provided automated responses for those common inquiries which did not meet the Home2Home criteria for acceptance. I'm now going to hand over to Di, who will talk about the tailored pet support triaging system we created.
Thanks, Bryony. While developing the triage system, we realised that many of the problems Home2Home faced were the same ones affecting our crisis care support. The work is mentally and emotionally challenging, and the demand is high for a small team with limited financial support, creating a constant push-pull between program sustainability and the need for the service in the community. At that point, we decided to combine the entry pathway for both programs within what became our tailored pet support pathway. From our website, you can now navigate our resources in a choose your own adventure style journey or get personalised help using our tailored pet support questionnaire. From launch until the end of July, we've had 1,662 people start the questionnaire. 560 people dropped off throughout, and the balance completed the form. The majority of people were seeking help for their own pet, but 201 people sought support for someone they knew, be that a friend, a family member, or a client. We only asked those who indicated that they were experiencing crisis if the person in need had a case manager or a human support service worker, as this affects what services we can refer them to. 129 people confirmed that this was the case. These are the most visible minority of pet guardians seeking assistance. From there, 571 people were automatically redirected to resources suitable for their situation. These are curated resources taken from our extensive internal library. We also helped 406 people through our crisis care support, where a team member connects them directly with local services appropriate to their situation. Implementing the triage system has resulted in faster crisis support with fewer back and forth emails. People don't always know what they need to tell us, so this way we can ask upfront and have that information at hand. Lastly, 125 people were eligible for Home2Home, with 122 cats and 3 pets of other species being candidates for the program. Note that everyone currently seeking help for dogs is directed to one of the first 2 pathways, depending on their timeframe and circumstances. Much like the pattern we see on the main Pet Rescue platform, the majority of guardians engaging with tailored pet support are from southeastern Australia and to a lesser extent Queensland. We know from our overall Home2Home data that most people engaging with the program find us through Google or via the Pet Rescue website. So this pattern makes a lot of sense despite the program being national. We've also spent a lot of time developing the questionnaire to ensure it collected the right information at the right point in the pathway to enable us to help guardians effectively. One of the first questions we ask is, how long have you got? As we know that this answer is crucial to directing people to the right pathway. Contrary to our own personal experiences working in shelters, we found that if you freely offer non-judgmental support, the majority of guardians will engage with it early. This is shown by our biggest cohort of guardians having more than 6 weeks to find a solution for their pet. We know that these cases are the best candidates for Home2Home, so these are the guardians we offer owner-assisted rehoming to. About 15 to 18% of people who reached out to us needed a solution as soon as possible, and about double that amount had 6 weeks to find a solution for their situation. We also ask upfront if people are seeking to rehome their pets so that we have a clear understanding of their current needs. Even though some guardians who come to us with the intention to rehome their pets will eventually keep them, these people need to feel heard and supported when they reach out. This builds trust and often gives the guardian greater mental and emotional capacity to problem solve. So regardless of our intentions to provide other forms of support, every person who asks for help rehoming their pets gets guidance on rehoming pathways. When reading this slide, it's important to note that guardians can choose multiple options, so these numbers don't tally with our total cases, and often their reasons are overlapping. Overall, the patterns we see in drivers for dogs and cat guardians seeking support are very similar. Homelessness and temporary care of pets while owners get back on their feet, followed by family violence, are the main causes for guardians seeking help for both species. Dog guardians more commonly need assistance caring for their pets while they themselves are hospitalised, and to cover emergency vet bills compared to cat guardians. Although we don't know why these differences actually exist. It could be that the services are easier to find for cats, or that dog guardians just seek help differently to cat guardians. Relative to cats and dogs, guardians of other species reach out for help with cost of living more often, but rarely reach out for help with their pet's behaviour. It's also common for guardians to need specific resources that didn't fall into those common big buckets that we see, so we provided more tailored help for their situations. Now, when we focus on people in need of urgent help and split the data based on whether or not they intend to rehome their pets, we saw some differences between these cohorts. 4 categories appear in the top reasons for seeking help for all guardians, although the patterns differed by cohort. Homelessness support, family violence, temporary separations like emergency hospitalisation, and financial hardship are the common causes of crisis for guardians reaching out who want help to keep their pets in their families. For those guardians in crisis looking to rehome their pets, these factors were much less common. Guardians seeking rehoming support were more often faced with challenges related to housing insecurity, problems with their pet's behaviour, ongoing human health concerns, and entering aged care. Importantly, guardians with the support of human health services were more likely to reach out for support to keep their pets, reiterating the importance of holistic family care. Now to the big learnings. We know that barriers are generally a bad idea in the world of pet welfare, but there needs to be a balance between gathering the information you need to help and making support services accessible for pet guardians. Our experience is that asking those key questions upfront reduces frustration at both ends, speeds up the triage and intake process, and maximises the use of limited resources to create successful outcomes.
Having an effective triaging system helps you identify pets that will have a smoother journey to adoption. To give you an example, say you have a guardian who needs to rehome a highly adoptable pet, and you don't currently have the capacity to take the pet into care, but you know that if you could list it, it would be adopted quickly. So you offer to list it while it's still in the care of its original guardian, and suddenly it's like having an instant foster carer who knows the pet and is able to assist with meeting potential adopters. If everything goes to plan, you adopt the pet to its new home before you even need to take it into care.
It's a frustratingly common experience to have guardians wanting to fix their pet's problems, but not being successful simply because they haven't connected with the right professionals to help. By having a good network of trusted, qualified, and experienced professionals, you can connect guardians for help with complex health and behaviour problems. You can often find options for animals that aren't suitable for traditional rehoming pathways, and even keep pets and guardians together.
Don't be afraid to ask guardians to do more to make their pets ready for adoption. This can be a great way to reduce the financial burden to your organisation while improving rehoming outcomes. When making these requests, be mindful that not all guardians have the means to do so, but by creating the opportunity, you will be surprised how many guardians are willing to go that extra mile to maximise their pet's chances at finding a loving new home. The last thing I like to share with you is Billy's story because it reflects how positive outcomes can be achieved when you're able to provide the right support at the right time. Billy's guardian, Steve, applied to Home2Home because the family were no longer able to manage Billy's behaviours. Billy had a history of anxiety and resource guarding issues which resulted in their child being bitten. Without more information about Billy's behaviour and a clear understanding of what was happening in the home, the Home2Home program was not a suitable rehoming pathway. So we provided Steve with an alternate options, which included contact details for behaviour vets and a qualified trainer who could conduct remote consultations, with the understanding that if the family was committed to seeking help and implementing the behaviour modification required, we would review Billy's application. Steve booked a consultation with a behaviour vet, which resulted in Billy being prescribed medication and a behaviour modification plan. Billy showed improvement almost immediately, and while the family began to see a different side to him, the relationship was broken beyond repair and they were still seeking to rehome him. Due to the commitment of Steve, the improvement of Billy's behaviour, and the behaviour vet being willing to provide a post-adoption consultation, we accepted Billy into the program and listed him with complete transparency about his behaviours. As you can imagine, he was quite popular, racking up over 10,000 views and 20 applications. To assist Steve with matching Billy to a suitable new family, the most promising applications were required to have a chat with Di before meeting Billy. Billy's rehoming journey took 3 months from application to adoption, but it only took 13 days to find him a loving new home once he was listed. He settled in so well with his adopter that they only needed one consult with the behaviour vet to make sure that they were set up for success. When Billy's case came through to me, I knew after reading the application, with the mention of anxiety and a bite, that his rehoming options would not be great. It was unlikely he would find a new home through the traditional welfare sector, and Home2Home was not an option either. But as we have shown, being able to collaborate with other professionals and the guardian created the potential to say yes to a case which would have typically been a no, I'm sorry. It was a far more empowering position to be in and turned an emotionally challenging situation into the positive experience that I'm sharing with you today. Maybe you only have the capacity to take in 1 or 2 cases at a time, but maybe it's a way of trying something new that achieves better outcomes for everyone involved. If this is something you would like help setting up, please let us know and we'd be happy to share.